Today, I'm going to share with you how to build a $1 million health coaching business in just a few minutes. And I'm going to show you exactly how to break it down from the top to the bottom. I'm going to walk you through the numbers, and I'm going to share with you what I do every single day with hundreds of health practitioners just like you. All right, guys, welcome back. Uriel Kamer, CEO and founder of Healthpreneur. You're here because you probably want to build a successful online health coaching business. And I've been at this for 20 years. I built and sold my first company for multiple seven figures in the health fitness space. In 2017, I started Healthpreneur because a lot of health practitioners were like, hey man, how did you build this online business? Can you help us? And I was like, maybe there's an opportunity here to help more people. And so that's what we do. Unfortunately, the school system failed you big time. It failed us big time. It gave us all these technical skills and no business acumen. So we went out into the world and we completely got lost. And so our goal is to bridge the gap between the awesomeness you have and the people that need your help who don't know you exist. So today I'm going to give you an example of a coaching program that specializes in helping women with a leaky bladder. And I'm going to show you how to turn that into a $1 million business. Now, doesn't matter if you do leaky bladder stuff or anything else, the framework is the same. So this will make a lot of sense framework-wise, conceptually, but also mathematically to show you what it takes to win in business when we look at the math. Okay, so let's kind of break this down. So I'm health expert XYZ, and I help women with leaky bladders. So these are women in their, let's say, 40s, 50s, who can't even go for a walk anymore because they're like, I got to go to the bathroom every 5 minutes. They can't live their life. They don't want to resort to adult diapers. And it's really, really messing up their mojo in the sense of how what they're able to experience in life. And I share this with you because we have a lot of very successful clients in this space. So that's the problem. I have a solution called the Leaky Bladder Solution. So there we go, TM, there's the name of my coaching program. It's $5,000, and the funnel is essentially Facebook ads or Instagram ads into an evergreen webinar, application, phone call. This is called our Perfect Client Pipeline. This is how we help all of our clients build 6, 7, and 8-figure coaching businesses online. So what are the mechanics that we have to look at? Now, obviously, there's a couple things. There's 4 growth killers that you have to be aware of that we need to be able to overcome, and this Perfect Client Pipeline helps with that. Number 1 is obscurity. No one knows you exist. Okay, so running ads guarantees visibility. Okay, so that's the first thing. That's how we eliminate obscurity. People don't know you exist. You press go on your ads, assuming they're done right with the right messaging, the whole bit. People know you exist. Now, just because you have visibility doesn't guarantee conversions. So the second growth killer is some people know you exist, but they don't understand what you do, or they don't understand your offer. So this is a messaging problem, okay? So it doesn't matter how visible you are if no one even knows like what you do. Third is, let's say they understand what you do, but they don't really want it. That's an offer problem. And fourth is they want what you have to offer, leaky bladder solution, but they don't trust you to help them solve it. So those are the 4 growth killers, and the Perfect Client Pipeline helps to dissolve those, so you're much more likely to enroll prospects who never knew you existed a couple hours or a couple days previously. So with that said, let's build this out and look at what the math looks like to make sense of this. So I'm going to turn to the computer, and I am going to forecast how we make this work. So this is we call this the game plan. This is actually a tool that we give our clients. And this I love because when you have some initial data in your business, you can then start to project and extrapolate what the future could look like based on current data. And you can play with the numbers. Okay, so to make $1 million in a year, that's the goal. We're going to make $1 million in 12 months. That's $83,000 per month. Now, please understand that we're not necessarily 83,000 every single month consistently. It might be 75, 85, 100, whatever. But let's just say on average. Program price is $5,000. And just for the sake of simplicity in this video, I'm going to assume that everyone pays you $5,000 on the first call. So there's no payment plans, just for the sake of simplicity here. So what that means is on a monthly basis, we need to enroll 17 clients. Okay? Now, book to close percentage. What does that even mean? So what's the percentage of people who book calls with you that enroll? Let's say that it's 20%, which is actually pretty solid. And what that means is if 5 people book a call on your calendar, 1 of them enrolls. and it accounts for no-shows, cancellations, and just a low close rate. If the book to close rate was 100%, that means that 100% of calls booked would all close. But if your show up rate is low, if your close rate is low, those will all lower this number. But let's just say for now it's 20%, which is usually in the neighborhood of where our clients are. So with that said, on a monthly basis, we need 83 calls booked because we know that 20% of them are going to convert into clients. So 20% of 83 is 17. 17 times 5,000 is 83,000. You following so far? I hope so. And if the numbers are like, it's all good, you got to learn them though, because if you want to build $1 million business, you're not going to build $1 million business without knowing your numbers. Okay, so we're running ads. How much do we need to spend advertising-wise to generate 83 calls, to generate 17 clients who pay us 5,000? Well, it depends, right? This could be anything. Well, let's just say we're in the ballpark of like $150. Okay? So you're paying $150 a call. Your ad spend required in a month is $12,000 and change. Your cost to acquire clients is $750. If you're hitting these numbers, please contact me. I'll give you my credit card. Go. Because at the bottom here, you're going to see the profit is $70,000 per month for a ROAS, or a return on ad spend, of 667%. I mean, where on earth are you seeing that type of return? Nowhere, but in your own business when you have the right vehicle. So that's what the math breaks down to look like. This is how you build a $1 million business. But there's a couple things that might be jumping out for you. Okay, Yuri, well, what happens if my messaging sucks and I'm paying too much for a call? Well, listen, the numbers, they're going to change a little bit. Let's say you pay $300 a call, which by the way is too much. Your ROAS goes down. So there's less margin, right? That's obvious. Or let's keep it at 150. Let's say that your close rate or your show rate's terrible and your book to close is now at 10%. So you have to have 10 calls booked for one to enroll. Watch what happens to the number of calls required. It literally doubles. You need twice as many calls to enroll the same number of people because of the inefficiency in the whole process. So this is what we work with our clients on every day. We look at, okay, where's the constraint? How do we fix it? Okay, so one thing you might be thinking about if you're a savvy entrepreneur is, hold on, you're 83 calls in a month? That's like 20 calls a week. That's like 4 a day-ish if you don't work weekends. That sounds like a lot of time. I have to deliver to my clients. I have to do other stuff in the business. I have to have a life. Well, every goal has a price. You want to build $1 million business, but you don't want to do the work? Sorry, it's not going to happen. When I started Healthpreneur, we went from zero to $1 million in 7 weeks. So these numbers, they can happen on a daily basis, weekly basis, monthly, it doesn't matter. When I started the company, I was doing 6 calls per day. I was exhausted. I didn't enjoy it. I'll be honest. But I knew that if I could build it from 0 to $1 million, I would build a lot of margin and I'd have an amazing runway from which I could hire people. I could build the right infrastructure around me. And now I don't do any of the sales calls. So understand that it's a season. It's not the rest of your life. But if you're still like, well, I don't want to do 4 calls a day, that's okay, right? I'm not saying you have to, but I will say that it's a little bit of a trick question. The reality to build $1 million business with one, like you alone, is tricky. And the reason it's tricky is because conducting that number of calls is hard on your own. So let's look at 3 things to do to improve this. I call them the 3 M's. Number 1 is money. So let's say that you're the only person in the business. You have to do all the enrollment calls and you have to deliver to the clients on the back end. And you have to write your ads and you have to do everything. Okay, shit, like what if we just change the price? So instead of 5,000, let's say it was 10,000. Maybe a bit of a jump for you in your mindset, but let's just play with the numbers. All of a sudden, you need half the number of clients enrolled, half the number of calls booked. 10 calls a week? 2 calls a day? I can do that. But can you get behind a $10,000 price point? That's a different question. So understand that the first thing to do when you feel constrained with your time is increase the price. Because let's say we went the other way. Let's say instead of 5,000 is too much, we'll do 2,500. Oh, you need 166 calls to enroll 33 clients? Have fun with that, right? And this is partly where sometimes when people ask me, okay, Yuri, well, what's the difference? You've got clients that are doing 100,000 a month, 3 million a month, and then you've got people that are doing like 10K a month. What's the difference? The difference, there's many differences. One of them is some people have a very big vision of what they want to do. Some people, we have clients that charge $25,000. So they only have to enroll 3 clients a month, 17 calls booked. That's like one every other day. The more you charge, the less you have to work. Okay? But if you charge $250 for a membership site, you're toast, right? So pricing is a very important lever. So our clients who do bigger numbers, many times, they charge more. Because if you simply charge more for the same amount of work, you make more money and it's all profit. So that's the first M, is the money. The second M is the model. Now, in the context of this, I'm not going to talk too much about the model because I want to attack the sales piece. So the model here, the model becomes very important on the delivery because in a service-based business like coaching, the biggest constraint will become service. How much time you spend in delivery, okay? That will become the issue. But I want to just shelf that. Here, we have to look at how do we increase the book to close rate? Or how do we have more enrollments with fewer conversations? So let's say that we took the book to close rate from 20 to 25%, which is, a 20% increase? Watch what happens. Actually, before I do that, let's bring the price back to 5,000. And so we're at 17 enrollments, 83 calls, okay? If I take the book to close rate, watch what happens to the calls booked required. It goes down. I need almost 20 fewer calls for the same number of enrollments. So, and notice your ROAS goes up. You don't need to spend money on as many calls for the same number of enrollments. This is the model. How do we do that? Well, this is where having a perfect client pipeline where people are coming in pre-sold, pre-indoctrinated, drinking your Kool-Aid makes a big difference. Because if you get people on the phone with you who've been drinking your Kool-Aid and are already pre-sold, do you think that might improve your close rate? Yes, it will. If they don't know you, they have no idea what you are, who you are, what you do, and your book to close rate is 5%, you're going to have to talk to 1 million people, right? So number one is the better you market, the less you have to sell. So make sure the marketing does most of the heavy lifting, hence why I'm all in on the perfect client pipeline. It is, in my 20 years of experience, the most effective way at making that a reality. Second, you have to improve your selling skills. So this is not so much of a model thing, it's more of a skill thing. You have to get better at having a conversation with people that gets to the truth, that moves people through their shit to get across the line without feeling pushy. If you do those two things, or at least one of those two, you will increase your book to close rate. Therefore, you don't need as many calls for the same revenue level. So again, we're still talking about you running everything yourself. Okay? Pricing, we improve marketing, and we improve our selling skills. Got it? So those are two things you can take ownership of. The third M is manpower. And this is where things get tricky because what I typically have seen is there's a bottleneck in a coaching business between 35 and 50,000 per month. So I would say very confidently that on a revenue of 40,000 a month, you could easily get there all by yourself, right? Let's just bring back the initial numbers. So 20% book to close rate, that's 10 calls a week. That's 1 or 2 a day, okay? You can get there by yourself, no problem. That's a $500,000 a year business, $500,000-ish. That's the point at which, again, depending on your price points, because if you're in the neighborhood of 5,000 or less, this is where things become tricky, is to get to double your business. unless you're a maniac, you need more bodies on the calendar to take calls. And this is where our mastery program comes in. So we have a lot of clients who are in this kind of 35 to 50K a month range. And they're like, dude, I can't keep doing everything myself. Like, I know. That's why we have mastery, where we help you build out a team, the culture. We show you exactly how we've built Healthpreneur into the world's leading, longest standing company, helping health practitioners. Everything that we do in our business, we hand to you in mastery. Again, this is you're at already 500,000-ish or in that neighborhood. So here it's really about hiring sales reps, because now if you have more people, let's say you, 1, 2 other people, that's 3 people taking calls, you can do more volume. And so to go from about 500,000 by yourself to 1 million, you're going to require at least 1 more person, probably 2, so you can take some of your time back. And so in this type of business model, you're going from 0 to 1 million, 500,000 by yourself-ish, and then 500 to 1 million with 1 to 2 other people on the sales fronts. Now, when you bring in 17 clients a month, that's 200 clients a year, you got to figure out delivery. So delivery is a big issue, because if you don't know how to figure that out, then you're not going to want to bring more people in. And that's another big area that we help our clients with, is how do you impact more people without compromising the care they get? How do you go from 1 to 1, from to 1 to many, and your clients still get better results, right? These are all things that we help our clients dial in with our frameworks and processes and support. But the important thing here to remember is that to go from where you are at this 500,000 mark to 1 million in this context, I don't want to work myself to the bone. It's going to require 1 or 2 other people to take calls with you on the front end. 0 to 1 million is all about it's sales, and just got to enroll people, right? And I say that knowing full well you're good enough to produce a great result in the back end. Okay, we're not saying sell shit and don't help people. That's never going to happen. So I'll just share like a big mistake that I've seen happen with some people is, I don't want to do calls. I'm going to hire this out. Cool, I found an agency that's going to put 1 or 2 people in my business, and I'm going to chill. And then those 2 sales reps come in and completely tank the business because they're not as good as you. You're not providing coaching and leadership and management and sales call reviews and so forth, and the whole thing goes to shit. So does that sound like a little bit of work? Yuri, I don't want to manage a sales team. Well, guess what? What's the alternative? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? You going to do all the calls yourself? No. At some point, whether it's a sales team or anyone else, you're going to step out of doing the work. But it doesn't mean you don't do anything. You're going to coach your team to build the business. So let's say before you hire 1 or 2 reps to help you on the front end, you work 20 hours a week doing calls. Okay, so you're like, let's go. And then you hire 1 to 2 people to help with that. And then you take on no calls. They do 10 hours each. All you have to do is host, let's say, a daily huddle, 30 minutes. And then outside of that, you listen to 1 of their calls each per day. And so let's call that 2 hours a day of coaching and leadership for those 2 reps. That sounds like a lot of work, Yuri. Well, maybe, but here's the thing, is that if you pour into them and coach them on the front end, they will give you all the time you want on the back end. Think of like for every hour you invest in them, they're going to buy you back hundreds in time. It may not feel like that initially, because when you onboard and train someone, that's when you got to be all in with them, right? You want to ramp them up and get them up to speed and give them feedback and review their calls. And it's like, they need things to model. They need to see examples of your calls and so forth. But please don't make the mistake of thinking you can go from 0 to 1 million all by yourself without some sweat equity in there. Because you can. It's going to just require you to be on the phone a lot. Totally cool. You can get there like I did, right? But at some point, like right now we have a team of 40 plus people. So it's like you have to learn how to do different things in your business as your business grows. When you're first starting, the most important thing you have to do is acquisition, sales and marketing, sales and marketing, sales and marketing. You're good enough as a practitioner to help people. That's fine. But if you don't know how to enroll people, you're screwed. You'll be the best kept secret in town that no one knows about, right? So you have to learn this. Anyways, so that's the game plan. This is a tool that we use with our clients. Once they have a good sense of what their critical numbers are, cost per lead, cost per call booked, all that stuff. They can then plug this in and start to forecast, okay, I want to be here in 6 months. What's it going to take? Is that feasible for me? Probably, let's go. Or man, like shit, I'm going to need like 1 or 2 people to support me somehow. But it gives you clarity because now you know with granular detail, I need 40 calls booked or 72 calls booked in a month. And now you have a very clear path to where you want to go. So this is how you can go from 0 to $1 million in whatever time frame. Again, I did it in 7 weeks when I started this company, eons ago. It might take you a year. It might take you 3 years. It doesn't matter. The math is the same. So I use the example of like the leaky bladder solution. Doesn't really matter what your thing is. You have a solution that can make a big difference in people's lives. You charge a premium price. When you have the right vehicle, the perfect client pipeline where people are coming in, pre-sold, pre-qualified, already drinking your Kool-Aid, it makes the whole process that much more enjoyable for you and beneficial for them. And if you want more on that, there's probably a link in the description where you can go through our trainings on that stuff. But for now, if you've enjoyed this, give it a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Pricing is the biggest leverage you have in your coaching business. If you charge too little, you're not going to make much. If you charge a lot, well, there's different ways of organizing that to attract better quality clients. And today I'm going to share with you 7 pricing mistakes I wish I would have avoided when I started my coaching business.